Good evening. Thank you so much for making the time for this show. And as always, we seek to make sure that you become a better version of yourself. So I'll ask you this question. Have you ever had a conversation with someone and you just feel like they don't understand what you're saying and you say it again, either through email, text, or even a one-on-one conversation, and you're thinking, are they understanding? So we're here to answer those questions today. My producer is telling me I didn't say my name. My name is Medri Nyambura. Karibuni sana. We have Sakwa M. James, who's a PR marketing consultant. Hi, sir.
Hi.
I'm so happy you're a young person.
Same here. I am happy for the young age. It's a good age.
Okay. Let me ask you, what is good communication?
Good communication, in my view, has 2 or 3 elements to it. Number one, that the message must be well packaged.
Okay.
But before you even get to the message, you must agree with yourself. You who's communicating, you must agree with yourself, what do you want to communicate? So you must have the message that we want to communicate. Then that message must be communicated to the right audience. Okay? Once you have selected your right audience, then it must be communicated with clarity.
Okay.
Now, clarity is usually the issue here when you look at communication.
That is so true.
And clarity will also have a few issues to it.
Okay.
Number one issue to clarity is, are you communicating what is relevant to these people? First of all, the message could be good. The message could be well packaged. I mean, you got all your I's dotted and T's crossed, but you're passing the right message to the wrong audience. So is this the right message for this audience? Secondly, how are you bringing it out? Unlike in other spheres where we would concentrate on the content, in communication, we look at the message, we look at the messenger, and we look at the mode that the messenger is using. So you cannot say that because I have wonderful content, it doesn't matter how I bring it out.
Okay.
The messenger themselves must be up to the task.
Sakwa, who sent you? You know, I'm thinking I might have good content, but how you present it is what matters.
Yes, how you present it is in fact, is a very big player to communication. You might not have the best English, and so we just get this off the table for starters. Good communication has nothing to do with eloquence.
Thank you.
It has nothing to do with one's level of education.
Okay.
It only has to do with the right message, the right audience, the right relaying of the same.
So when do we start to learn how to communicate?
Every parent will tell you, when you look at child development stages, that they are the stages follow each other in any sequence, in a particular sequence. And first-time parents would get a bit worried at some point when they see their child is not doing this, the child is not doing that, and they compare with so-and-so's child.
Yes.
But a repeat parent, if I can use that word, one who has maybe who's getting a child for the second or third time or so, would not be worried because they know that there are children who start crawling at this age, others would walk at this age, others would stand. And just last 2 days ago, with a parent who was being asked, does your child crawling already?
Yes.
And she said, this one never crawled. She went straight to walking.
Okay.
So even in terms of talking, there's an age that has been put where children start to talk. But we forget that talking or communication is not all about talking. So children learn to talk or to communicate the first instance. As long as one has life, in my view, they are already communicating. Okay. That is why a child who cannot see, I am told up to a few, don't know whether there are days or weeks, the child cannot see. The eyes are open, but they cannot see. When they're not opening
their eyes. Yeah.
But they will still do something and the mother will tell you what that means. Okay. That is communication. And the biggest element of communication, in my view, is not words, it is the nonverbals. They count for a bigger percentage of what one is saying or is not saying. Okay. So children begin to communicate as soon as they have life. When they are crying, the grandmother knows why this child is crying. There are others, if you go to certain villages, the child would cry and cry and cry, even here in Nairobi, and then when you call your grandmother in the village, she tells you, I know what that is. Yes. But she has not seen this child, but she knows this child is communicating. Okay. All right? So communication starts right from when one has life.
Okay, then, Sakwa, let me ask you,
Yes.
are we born good communicators?
We are born communicators because we live by communicating. We
Okay.
communicate to ourselves, we communicate to other people, and we communicate to nature. But we are not born good communicators.
Okay.
Good communication is largely acquired. And with one's surrounding and the training and the ambition determines how fast or slow or how much of good communication one acquires.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense because, there are some people who say, I was born in a certain place, I didn't have exposure to this. It's good to make it clear you can actually aspire and
Yes.
be a good communicator.
You can.
Which leads me to the question. What are some of the challenges we have? Forget language barrier. At
Yes.
the basic level, what are some of the challenges people have when they're trying to pass a message?
When people are trying to pass a message, the challenges are many. Number one, I will start with a quote, and I can't remember who said this. He said, the biggest challenge to communication is that many people listen to respond, not to understand. So that already is a barrier. So challenge number one is prejudice, predisposition. There is what I already know, okay? When I was coming to family media today, there's what I already knew.
What did you know, Sakwa?
No, I am I am saying
I'm
this.
kidding.
Yeah, of course, I have watched you guys a few times.
Yeah.
So there's what I already know. So when I come, I could come, if I'm not careful, I could come with that already imprinted on my mind. So it does not matter what happens here. I have come already with what I want to address based on what I know. So prejudice is one of them. Number two is understanding the audience.
Yes.
Is another challenge. The third challenge that I would say to communication is, how would I put, is that there is the internal fear and complexes that we ride on. Yeah. So let's not call it fear. Let's look at the complexes. There could be the inferiority complex and the superiority complex. Whichever side you fall, it is a challenge. Because if you have inferiority complex, I was teaching a class on Sunday. Yes. And I asked a question. And these are not these are young adults, 20 plus. And I ask a question, and then they're seated in a circle, and one of them whispers. And I hear what they whispered and ask them, what did you say? And they're like, no, it's not relevant. To your surprise, whatever they whispered is exactly the answer I was looking for. Now, that's an inferiority complex.
Oh, my goodness.
You cannot have the right answer on this one, so I'm not going to speak because I don't have the right answer. Not oblivious to you that what you know is exactly the answer that's being looked for. Okay. Now, there are those who have superiority complex as a challenge. You think that you have arrived, either because of where you went to school, how far you went to school, who else you know, how long you have been around. Yes. And so you can say everything, you know everything. Little do you know that you know everything, but how are you saying all that you know? Okay. All right? A friend of mine says you could be very right. You could be right, but very wrong on top of your voice. That's true. Yes. So superiority complex is also a challenge. But in our present age, in 2018 that we live in, the biggest challenge that we have to communication is articulation. Articulation. You know what you want to say, but because of what we are used to out there with our peers and whoever, and so we think that we can say everything to everyone at all times in the same manner. And it doesn't go that way. Okay. When I hang out with my friends, there's a way we have conversations. Even if we're having them in English or Swahili, there's a way we have them. Yeah. And when I sit here, I cannot have conversation with you in the same manner. Like you can't sit like this and like, so you guys. Exactly. There is a way one has to. So articulation and then presentation of self is a challenge. I should have started with that one. Because it has been argued that when you walk here, inside here, or when one walks into your office, within the first 15 seconds, And I can bet you in 15 seconds you haven't finished even exchanging pleasantries with
You
this
haven't
person.
even gotten to the person. Yes.
Within the first 15 seconds, I have made a judgment of you. I have made a judgment of you, or you have made a judgment of me. How my hair looks, how my shirt looks,
Yes.
the kind of shoes I'm wearing, all these things. Somebody has already made a judgment of you. So presentation is a serious challenge when it comes to effective communication.
Okay.
And people need to learn how to present themselves before they even present their message.
Okay.
So when you're preparing, don't just prepare the message. Prepare yourself as well. Whom am I going to meet? And allow me to just digress and say, people out there who are watching, this is one of the things you could consider every day, so you're not caught flat-footed.
Yeah.
When you're preparing for your day tomorrow, this evening,
Yes.
you need to have in your head, and you ask yourself, what am I going to do tomorrow? Whom am I going to meet? And whom am I likely to meet?
So it needs to be very intentional.
It needs to be very intentional.
Okay.
So where you're going and whom you're likely to meet, the places you're likely to go, determines, for those who have a few pieces of wristwatches, which wristwatch you're going to carry with you, which pair of shoes you're going to use, which socks are you going to use, what is going to be your shirt, what is going to be your jacket, of course, hair now, that one, it just has to be well done.
Okay.
So think of the person you're going to meet.
Wow.
And you're not dressing, there has been this misconception when we say that, people tell you, I'm not dressing for you, I'm dressing for me. Fine. The more reason you need to think about your audience when you're dressing, because if you're dressing for you, your audience will judge you, and we cannot blame them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hear you. Let me tell you, you're opening up my eyes to so many things. I'm thinking, I wonder what he thought about me the first 15 seconds. And today we're talking about personal communication and how to improve it. I have so much pressure. My goodness, I do this every day. I'm thinking, Sako better give me a 4.5 rating here. But let me ask you, at work, and it happens a lot where sometimes communication just goes like this. No one is understanding what the other person is saying. And especially when you're not happy with someone or something they did or a task they didn't do well. So how do I communicate my discontentment to someone who's, let's start at my rank. How do I communicate that without offending them?
Okay. To start with, I think while communication out there is almost something that people would not pay a lot of attention to how it happens. At the workplace, I think the challenges are compounded. And they are compounded because of the interests. The interests that we each chase. And when we're in the workplace, everybody is chasing particular interests.
Okay.
So if what you're saying, at the end of it, the result of it is parallel to my interests, then I have to find a way. Okay? And it has seen many people out there even raise challenges, poke holes into your suggestions.
Yes.
To make it look like whatever you're suggesting will not work here. But that's not the whole point. The point is, whatever you're suggesting will work and I will not achieve, my interest will not be met at the end of the day. Okay. So your question is, how do we communicate dissatisfaction, discontentment, or displeasure in what somebody else is doing? I think the easiest way I have found, well, while there is one-on-one, going to this person and having a conversation, and while there is also writing an email, each of them has its pros and cons. Okay. Personally, I prefer walking to your desk and telling you, this is what is here, I think, as opposed to writing an email. I will walk to your desk, we have a conversation, we agree. Then come back and do an email of what we have agreed.
Okay. So
right?
Personal first.
Yes.
Okay.
Because from start, when it all settles down, we are humans. So I intentionally seek to keep the human touch. If we do it on email, I will write and you write, and I write and you write, and then you copy so and so, and I copy so and so. and I BCC the other one, and you BCC the other one, and I don't know whom you've BCC'd, and we don't know whom I have BCC'd, and we don't know whether the whole office is in the link.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can get too bad. So if there's something you have done, and I don't think you should have done it that way, I will look at it. But first of all, let's just, before we even go to what I would do very practically, just to advise people out there in the office, especially the younger generation, my generation and younger,
yes,
when there is conflict, let us be careful to address the issue and not the person. Many times we mix these two things.
Okay.
So an issue we have an issue here, and the issue is that maybe you did not tell your producer that you're going to have this show at this time.
Oh, she would kill me.
And then
yes.
Your boss knows that the show is happening at this time, but your producer doesn't know. So we are running late because your producer is doing something else.
Yes.
And then she's like, Medrin never told me about this.
Yes.
And instead of focusing on the issue of you not telling her, you probably forgot.
Yes.
And out of very clear conscience, you simply forgot to put her in the loop. Probably because you've been using a thread that has her email,
yes,
and you picked a wrong thread that doesn't have her email, and so she didn't get the email. Then she addresses you. I know you're always like this, even the other time. So you see, now we are dealing with the person.
Yes.
And we have left
the issue. Okay.
I would rather people, and prayerfully learn to address the issue. I always tell people, it's nothing personal, it's just the job. So even after we've had a misunderstanding here over an issue,
yes,
we'll still go out and have lunch with you.
Okay.
We'll still go out and have a cup of coffee with you, because it was not about you. It was about
the issue.
So for starters, identify the issue. What do you have a problem with specifically? And just to be clear, you don't have a problem with the person.
Okay.
So what do you have a problem with? Identify the issue you have a problem with. Now, what is the standard procedure of this issue? It should be done this way and this way and this way. How did I do it? I missed this step and this step. How would you like me to do it next time? You'd like me to do 1, 2, and 3. And then I come to your desk. Medrin, I realized the show that we just did, I didn't have a copy that it was happening. As you would remember, here, and that one affected me in 1, 2, 3 ways. It inconvenienced me in this way.
Yes.
And I was not particularly happy about it.
Okay.
Because you and I know that when a show is happening, we do 1, 2, 3, 4. So I was expecting that by, say, Thursday or Friday, you'll have sent me an email. So when I didn't see an email, I moved on.
Okay.
So probably it is also my fault that I didn't confirm with you. And let's not just be quick to point at what so-and-so has not done. It is fine they didn't do this in terms of communication now, because this is conflict, and communication always has conflict under it.
Yes.
When it is unclear, communication takes the top level. So we also look at, much as it is you who did not do your bit,
yes,
could there be a part I played?
I see that.
Loudly or silently. When we say, when we were young, or maybe people we still pray that way today, we say, God forgive us for our sins of commission and omission.
Yes.
So you committed a sin of, yours is a sin of commission.
Yes, when I did communicate.
But mine is of omission. I did not confirm. So identify the issue, find the right procedure, say, indicate clearly where you were hurt, where you were inconvenienced, where you were unsettled. Indicate clearly so that this person does not think it's a light matter. And then tell them, I was not particularly happy about this.
And then mention the issue.
Mention the issue.
Okay.
And give them an opportunity to respond. All right? And if it is you being addressed and you've been allowed an opportunity to respond, similarly, respond to the issue.
Not the person.
I have heard you. You have raised this thing. I did not do it right. I agree. Even if there's another reason why you did it, somebody told you to, somebody made you to, there was shortage of time, there was no internet. Let's keep that first. Let's first admit that I did this mistake. Then after that, I come to the issue and say, I did this, and 1, 2, 3. But I didn't know it would affect you that much, and I thought I would do this, but it is because there was no this and there was no that, or so and so told me that. But nonetheless, I take responsibility. Please forgive me. Let us come back to that part of I am sorry.
Yes.
There has been a problem on
because there are people who say, I'm sorry, you feel bad.
Yes. They say, I'm sorry, you feel bad. Another one just says, okay, I have heard you, I am sorry. Another one just says, fine, I am sorry. And then the one who's being apologized to says, it's okay. If you ask me, that issue has not been sorted.
Okay.
Because you're sorry for what? Okay? And this one, when they say it's okay, what do they mean? What is okay? What you did is okay, or your sorry is okay? So we need to have clarity when settling this conflict.
That makes so much sense. Because you say, I'm sorry, okay.
Yeah, sorry for what?
Okay.
I mean, there are many things you've done within this day, up to this hour. So which one of it are you referring to that you're sorry
among the many.
Okay?
Okay, yeah.
So I would say, Medrin, I am sorry I came late. All right? I am sorry I came late. If you read the times again, if they allow, you can go into why you came late.
Yes.
But if most of the time, when it is not quite necessary to go into why you came late, especially if your reason will not be a reason that you really, of something that you really
like if you say traffic and they're thinking.
I worked with a boss whom you would not tell you're late because of traffic. Says unless you're new to Nairobi, then traffic can be a reason for your lateness. So I am sorry I came late. And then you say, I have accepted your apology, you are forgiven. Because the purpose of apologizing is to be forgiven. So if I say it's okay, I have not said that you're forgiven.
People in relationships are like, this sounds very familiar. Do you know how a guy will say, I'm sorry? You're like, okay. But you wait for it.
It's fine.
Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah. No biggie.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
The purpose of apologizing is to be forgiven.
Okay.
In my view. And from my side, the reason I am raising this issue is so that you find your error and seek a new way. Okay.
Let me ask you, Sakwa, who should come up with a solution? If you say, I'm sorry for being late. So I come, Sakwa, I'm very sorry I was late. And then you say, it's okay, I've accepted your apology. Who comes with a resolution on what should be done moving forward to avoid this situation?
Most of the time, the resolution is pre-existing.
Okay.
In the office setup. For instance, I moved houses from where I used to stay, or something happened, whatever reason why I am late. And so I say, I am sorry, I am late. We cannot arrive at a solution if we do not know the cause.
Okay.
We know the problem. But now we need to know the cause. So I was late because my house help went off yesterday on Sunday, for instance, if it's a Monday, and she was to come back in the evening, but she didn't come back.
Okay.
I woke up in the morning while I was preparing, thinking she would come before I leave, to an SMS when she's saying she's not coming back.
Okay.
So I had to call my sister from where to come, and she arrived late, so that is why I'm late.
Okay.
And then we arrive now we are, okay, we say, that is understandable. You are forgiven. Next time, and not just for this person, but because there could be many mothers within the organization.
Yes.
So this precedent could be to help future occurrences. So okay. Say, next time something of this kind happens, please, the moment you realize your house help is not coming, just let me know right away. All these hours you are waiting, if I had known you're not coming, I would have gone for that meeting. I would have briefed somebody else, then we go with them to the meeting. But okay. I kept waiting for you. Then that could easily find its way in the policy, whether written or unwritten. When we are having meetings, we could just easily communicate. If something happens of this kind, do not wait for 2-3 hours. Let us know right away.
Sakwa, is there a lot of fear when people don't communicate? Is that it? Because you're thinking, I don't text my boss or email and say I'm going to be late because I'm scared I'll lose my job. I'm scared he looked at me like this. But you see, even when you don't, then it's worse, right? So is it a case of fear?
It is a case of, there could be a number of reasons why one would not communicate. For that particular example, say when they are running late. One, it is internal, their own self, just the way they are as a person. They don't like putting forward such communication.
Okay.
Okay. Secondly, it could be that they fear this person. Okay. So they fear this person. I wonder if I tell her him or her this, what would he or she do? What would that mean to me and my job?
Okay.
There are others. They don't necessarily fear the person, but they care for the person. If I am running late and I know what we are supposed to do, and I tell you I am running late, most likely I am afraid you'll enter a panic mode. And when you enter the panic mode, you're likely not to deliver as much as you would have delivered. So I am trying to fix what I am fixing so that I arrive nonetheless.
That's very,
But what
gives me so much clarity.
Yes.
Yeah.
So those could be the reasons. But who should come up with the solution? Like I said, one, the solution is most likely pre-existing, depending on what the issue is.
Yes.
It could be somewhere in the policies, it could be somewhere in the minutes of the previous meeting, it could be somewhere pre-existing. But if it is not, the offended party, when you're looking through the issue, why are you offended by this issue? Because of A, B, C, D. How would you have liked it to be addressed or to be handled this way?
Okay.
Then when I come and we talk about it, I say, I could propose to you, next time, how about you do A, B, C, D? Or I could come, I already have thought of what the solution could be, but I don't want to impose it. So I ask you,
Sorry.
How do you think we should do this next time?
Okay. Okay, that makes total sense. Do you know how sometimes, let's say at the office, I send you an email, then you don't reply confirming you got my email and understood what I said. Instead, you do the task that I asked you to do.
Yes.
So you do it the first time. I'm thinking, okay, the fifth time I get an attitude with you, so we're making coffee and Amuko throwing the sugar at you. Then the 10th time I tell you, Sako, you never reply my emails. What was your answer to that?
Before I give you that answer,
yes,
I just remembered something that I think would be important to mention.
Okay.
People who are in the office working, mainly because then if this doesn't happen, right, bills are not paid. Out here, people can get away with a few things. But in the office, if I send an email and say, we have this and this meeting coming up tomorrow.
Yes.
I worked somewhere where answers like, okay, noted, fine, were never acceptable in any communication.
Okay.
You had to say what you're saying. So you say, I confirm I will be there, I confirm, or my apology, I will not be there.
Okay.
And I think it's a good practice. Even when we are sending texts and WhatsApp to each other, it's important to have clarity in what we are saying.
Okay.
And just say, I have received your SMS. If you do not know you do not have a clear answer, firm answer at this time, and I do this a few times.
Yeah.
Just say, I have received your SMS. Allow me to respond to it substantively by end of day.
Okay.
So you're not there wondering, did you receive my SMS? Didn't you receive? Okay, you received. I have seen the blue ticks. You've not responded. What does it mean? How are you? And now, especially to the people who are in relationships, I think, but come to your question.
I show for another day. I can see that in your eyes. Yes.
When somebody does something that you're not happy about for the first time and you do not communicate. They do it for the second time, you don't communicate. At the third time, when it's hit its highest point, is when you're thinking of communicating. I do not think that's a good thing to do. If somebody is doing something that you're not happy about, in my view, you have two options. You either communicate it to them or learn how to live with it.
Kwisha, that's the punchline. That's the only thing I've learned today. What? Okay, yes. Explain why that is important.
Because if you do not communicate the first time, you taught me something. You told me it's okay. All right? I sent an SMS. You didn't reply. Okay, you sent an SMS, I did not reply. And you kept quiet with it. Because, and especially for some people, the SMSs you read and you're like, this one, there is no way it's asking a question. So there's no way I'm supposed to answer.
Yes.
So I didn't reply and you kept quiet. Then I was like, she's cool. Whether I reply or not, she doesn't have a problem. You send the second one, I did not see a question mark anywhere, I just go on my business, I do what you have said I should do. And that's how you'll end up. You've done whatever you thought I should do.
Yes.
I have done, but because I didn't respond, you have also done.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, because I didn't respond.
Yes.
While I have a responsibility to take, I can easily pass it on to you, which is necessarily not a good thing to pass it on to you. Because if you didn't like this, you should have said you don't like this. You know, we are told of a story of a man who went on a date with a lady. And when they were having their tea, they were brought tea, and then they were to put sugar and star. And while the lady was putting sugar in her tea, this gentleman, I do not know where his mind was, he put salt and stirred. And the lady saw him put salt.
Yes.
So when the lady asked him, why did you put salt instead of sugar? This guy was not humble enough or bold enough or courageous enough to say, oops, that's just a mistake. I thought this was sugar.
Oh.
He took it in and say, sometimes I love my tea with salt. Now you guess what happened when they got married.
What?
He took tea with salt for years because he could not turn against his word.
Thou shalt get goiter.
Yes.
Do not do that.
So, and if you don't say it for the first time, that one can be ignored. But the second time when you still don't say it, it's something you don't have a problem with.
Okay.
If, for instance, you are a boss and your staff, you have a few people you supervise, and they come in with hair that is not well done.
Yes.
You know, I worked somewhere and I didn't know they don't do casuals even on Fridays. So I walked in on Friday with a casual shirt, and the MD saw me the first sight he took at me, the first time he saw me that morning. He picked an issue with me and addressed me seriously. I stood up in front of everybody and was addressed on that matter seriously. I had to go and pick one of the branded shirts for the marketing team to put on that day.
Okay.
Now, you see, I could never do that again. But if he would have passed, said hi to us, and gone, next week I would have come with it. And what is the justification? But I was here with a similar shirt last Friday. We had a conversation with the MD and he had no problem.
Okay.
That is what we are saying. So if you can't, the two options are those. Once you keep quiet, you are cementing it. You are approving it. You are validating it. You are encouraging it. So if you can't communicate it, you have to learn how to live with it.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, that's so much clarity. How do I communicate this to my boss? Say your boss did something that didn't make you happy. Could be your immediate supervisor, the MD, anybody. How do you communicate that, again, remembering what their position is, but you do so effectively?
Okay. Now this is a very interesting one because it has happened to me a few times when I was still in full-time employment, where something happened and it is my boss who, the responsibility was on my boss, and everybody else was like, what do we do here? But what I learned then is, that is why it is important, again, depending on where you work, it is important that it is important to everybody, the supervisors and the subordinates, that we cultivate friendship beyond work relationship.
Okay.
That before we work together, we need to be friends. It makes work a whole lot easier. It makes conflict resolution easier. It makes communication on a day-to-day basis a whole lot easier. When we are fast friends, and then work is just a plus. Because this work, you will be here at Family Media for how many years? I do not know. But even if they are 10 years, you'll still have another life past those 10 years.
Yes.
And you need the guy who's behind that camera when you're out there.
That's true.
All right? So that's why friendship for me should always be the starting point.
Okay.
And friendship is cultivated through various avenues. So what I would do, or what I did, is I looked at what had happened. I advised, there was a situation, and then I advised, I think this is what we should do. I had not looked at the policy, but I just advised the team that was involved, this is what I think you guys should do. And I guided them, and they did what they were to do. And then my boss came and reversed everything we had done.
Oh, my Lord.
Okay?
Yes.
Saying this can never happen, suggested a different way that should be done. And we went on and on and on, implementing now the new suggestion, and it didn't work, and it cost us a lot, and it all came back to my desk, because it's my desk that was responsible. So what did I do? I looked at the issue and walked to her desk and said, do you have a minute? Yes.
That's usually the tricky question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Then she said, look, you can push back the door. Then I said, you remember the time we had 1, 2, 3 happening?
Yes.
And I had advised the team to do this and the other. Yes, and then you came and suggested we do it differently, which we did. Apparently, it has not worked, and it has brought issues on my desk.
Yes.
Now, the sponsors who are on board are pulling out because of this and this and the other. And you know how that affects my job and my productivity. And I don't think it's a good thing. I am not particularly impressed about it, because it has... In fact, it has affected how I am looking at the other projects that are coming up.
Sakwa, did you still have your job?
Yes, I still had it.
Okay.
So I just said, I think while I appreciate your guidance, I would love that sometimes when it's not in line, when it's parallel to what I think, we have a conversation about it.
Okay.
And then we look at the pros and cons. She was not impressed at that point. In fact, she looked at me quiet and said, okay, so you think I made the wrong decision? I'm not saying you made the wrong decision. I'm just saying the decision you made, the direction you gave us, you told us to take, did not work.
Okay.
Now these are the effects. If we would have taken the direction, if you'd have assessed or analyzed my direction, or the direction we had taken earlier, probably would have ended at a different place. So my request is that next time we just try to assess both options.
Okay.
Yeah, instead of you coming and saying, this is what you are going to do. So I would still do the same thing. Find the issue. Find where the ball was dropped. And then find how could it be done differently. And then, because this is your boss, what is the relationship between the issue and your performance?
Okay.
In my thinking, that is where it boils down to.
Okay.
Because that is why they are your boss, and that is why you are there, for your performance. So if it affects your performance, you need to graciously demonstrate how this affects your performance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Sakwa, you have to come back. There are so many things you haven't looked at. We have about 3 minutes.
Yes.
So practically, how can people improve how they communicate, either at work or even at home? How do you improve that at a personal level?
I will say 2 things. One, just learn. Be willing to learn. And learning to communicate is in various forms. There are those who go to school to learn, like you and I went to school to be taught how to communicate.
Yes.
And then there are those who you could learn by reading. Now, the culture of reading in our country has become terrible, in my view.
We did a whole show on that.
Yes, a friend of mine just told me the other day, he has many books. And sometimes when he's reading and he doesn't have a bookmark, he picks a note that he has, like 50 bob, and puts in the book.
Can I borrow his book?
As his bookmark. Now, somebody borrowed his book and insisted on reading the book. And then this person went and stayed with the book and stayed with the book and stayed with the book. And this guy was so sure it has a 50 bob. And then this lady brings back the book. This guy goes home and the 50 bob is still there. Only later... Actually, when the guys received the book, he was just looking through the pages and he sees the 50 bob is there. And this lady sees the 50 bob and she insists that it is hers. She's the one who left it there. Do you know the conclusion this guy made?
Yes.
This lady never read this book.
Exactly.
If she read, she would have known that this 50 bob was here.
Not even that. If it was on page 35, when you gave it to her, and it comes back on page 35, she did not read the book.
She did not read it.
Okay.
So people, we need to read a lot. And reading is not just books. Read newspapers. I encourage younger people that I talk to, even if it is yesterday's paper or last week's paper, You could read the newspaper for the news, but you could read it to sharpen your skills as well.
Okay.
So read newspapers, read magazines, read blogs.
Read.
Just read.
Okay.
You said you had a show on reading, but if you hadn't had, would have had another one.
We can still have another one, Sakwa.
So then watch.
Yes.
So when you're reading, there are patterns you're borrowing.
Okay.
If you read the Star, the newspaper today, and read the Standard and read Nation,
Yeah.
the style is different. They have different approaches to the same issue.
Yes.
So you will understand how different people write different things.
Okay.
When you read when you read magazines, you'll still see different things.
Yes.
And even people wonder hard copies and so on, blogging and so on. Even Facebook these days, depending on whom you're following and who is following you, there's really good content that people.
I totally agree. Yeah.
There's a guy there, and there are many on Facebook. We can discuss that on another day. Then watch the speeches that people have made.
Okay.
And the talks that people have given. There is TED Talks, but we have a Kenyan one called Engage.
Yes.
Watch Engage. Watch these things and see how people communicate. And that's how you learn. And the other thing is just to observe. When you're seated where people are, when you go into a meeting, you just observe how so-and-so is presenting themselves, presenting their issues. And then practice and practice and practice. Practice is by taking initiative. Take up the challenge even when you do not have, when you don't think you're ready for it.
Okay.
And that's how you become a good communicator. Write a lot.
Sakwa?
Write a lot.
We have to go. Time is done.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness, I've learned so much. I feel like I need to go back again and think about how I communicate. Thank you so much. And you'll definitely come back for another episode.
Thank you very much. You'll be glad to.
Hey, let me tell you, there are things we learned together, and today it was you and I in class. How do you communicate at a personal level at work? Hope you've picked up a few tips that will make you better at the art. And here's what we'll do. We'll have a second part, but first of all, digest what you've heard today and start practicing. He said, read, write, observe, practice. That's it, and you'll be good. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Medri Nyambura. Have a good night.